Hey everyone. You know, tomorrow night is TNA Impact, and it's the Impact after this past Sunday's Victory Road. Now, for some of you that watched Victory Road on pay-per-view and probably were there live in the Impact Zone to see it, a lot of you have voiced basically your opinions on how you feel about it. A lot of you feel as though it's probably one of the worst pay-per-views in recent memory. In fact, some of you have even said it surpasses December to Dismember from WWE's ECW brand back in 2006. Now, I can understand why a lot of you are upset about it. Because for a lot of long-time fans like myself, and you included, it's the same thing all over again. It's the same thing that we saw back in the mid to late 90s in WCW with the NWO, the 2000, in most of 2000 or half of 2000 with the New Blood in WCW. It's the same thing we saw with the Corporation in the late 90s to early 2000s in WWE, as well as with the Alliance in 2001, the WCW-ECW Alliance. And sometimes even with, say, Evolution a few years later in 2004 in WWE. But you get what I'm saying. You see, I know a lot of you fans out there don't like what's going on. You don't like to see repeats. You don't like to see people that are in the 40s, if not 50s, becoming champions in a company that was originally slated and stated to be about young and upcoming wrestlers making a name for themselves with the help of some of the veterans that allowed those young guys to make names for themselves. Well, let me kind of explain what's going on. Let me kind of explain the best of my ability. You see, how do I say this? There's a new generation of wrestling fans out there, a new generation of WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, and independent wrestling fans out there today that have never seen anything like the Main Event Mafia storyline. With the exception of probably watching old archives or old shows and pay-per-views on tape, DVD, or in certain cases on demand, and or through video holds. That's the only way they've ever seen anything similar. But for them, this whole Main Event Mafia deal is totally new. And as fans, as up-and-coming new fans, they're getting a kick out of it because it's making it interesting. It's making a sports entertainment showcase, if you will, that they'd heard sometimes people criticize about in a huge way. It's making it interesting to them. It's making it more like, wow, I didn't know that was coming. Or like, wow, I didn't know all these guys that used to hate each other are now forming a group. And it's basically what it is. Basically to them, it's all new. Because, you know, like I said, they're up-and-coming fans that have never seen anything like this. I mean, yeah, they might, like I mentioned, they may have seen old archives of NWO in WCW, of the Corporation in WWE, of the New Blood in WCW, of the WCW-ECW Alliance in WWE, and so forth. They may have seen that, but they've never experienced it on a current basis, and that's why this Main Event Mafia deal, is so huge right now in TNA wrestling, if not wrestling itself. Because there's a whole new generation of fans that are enjoying it. I mean, again, I understand that longtime fans like me and yourselves, we don't like the idea that WWE, I mean, not WWE, but TNA is doing this. We don't like the fact that they're taking guys that are in the 40s and putting them on top, pushing them over the younger, more established guys that help put a company like TNA on the map. Guys like AJ Styles, who I've met. Guys like Christopher Daniels, who I met. You know, they don't like that. They don't like the idea. They don't like the fact that someone like AJ Styles jobbed to someone like Kevin Nash when it should have been Kevin Nash that jobbed to AJ. They don't like the fact that Beer Money, who's an up-and-coming tag team, probably one of the best young tag teams today, ended up jobbing to Steiner and Booker, two guys that Some have said one doesn't know how to speak right, the other barely knows how to wrestle, barely can wrestle anymore. They don't like that. And more in fact, they don't like the fact that two 40-year-olds are in the main event in probably one of the worst matches that they can think of. Overall, basically the whole situation, basically the thing is, you have to understand that Victory Road, this past Sunday, the way it was booked, if you go back, as a long-time fan, if you go back to Slamboree 2000, I believe it was, Slamboree 2000, also when the New Blood, I believe it was Slamboree 2000 or Spring Stampede 2000, I can't remember, but it was one of those two pay-per-views where all the titles were vacated, and with the exception of the hardcore title, the New Blood faction won all the championships. Right? Right. And it's the same thing with the NWO. There have been numerous pay-per-views back in the mid to late 90s where they won and dominated by winning all the championships and taking control. Hey, let's not forget that one pay-per-view where they won a match that allowed them to challenge for any championship they wanted at any time, any place. Look, what I'm saying is that you have to understand that this storyline may be old to us, it may be the same thing over and over and over again, but this is an old saying. And that old saying is, if it's not broke, don't fix it. In other words, if an idea still works, depending on who is a part of that idea, or where it takes place, or when, then don't bother changing it. You know, if it proves to still be successful, don't bother changing it. And that's what writers at TNA are doing. They're seeing that this whole thing that started with the NWO back in the 90s is like, wow, it's like, wow, this works. Let's try it. I mean, let's not forget, they did try something similar about a year into TNA's existence with SEX, Sports Entertainment Extreme. True, that didn't last long, but it was the start of something. That's right, it was the start of something. And that's exactly what this is. It's the start of something. It's the start of something that new generation of fans can enjoy. That's why they're getting a kick out of it. That's why they're getting a kick out of it. That's why it's helping. That's why it's part of what, like I said at the beginning, it's the biggest thing going on in TNA today. It's probably the best thing for them. And besides, let's not be too critical, okay? We know how this is going to end. We know that this whole main event mafia deal situation isn't going to last the rest of the year. True, it may be the best thing for TNA right now, but it's to help put TNA on the map. It's to help companies like WWE, Ring of Honor, and even some in Japan, Mexico, and even some of the indie circuits, to realize, hey, TNA is a legitimate player. That's why this thing's happening right now. But like I said, we all know it's not going to last long. And if some momentum is not taken away from the main event mafia at Hard Justice, then there is something up. I will admit that. Because we all remember when WCW did the NWO and the WWE did the Alliance, they did lose momentum at certain pay-per-views, right? Just when they thought they had it, they lost it. That's what TNA needs to do with Hard Justice. They need to have the main event mafia lose a little steam, maybe show some dissension, and then at Bound for Glory, which I think we all know is coming, which is about 3 months away, but at Bound for Glory in Los Angeles, that's, I think, where we know the main event mafia is going to go down. Because let's not forget, Kurt has not yet signed a new contract. He has stated he will not sign a new contract until someone's out of power. Okay? Excuse me for a second. Okay, I just got a little bit more time. But like I said, we all know Curtis said he will not sign a new contract as long as someone's still in power. Now, unless they bring that as a part of the storyline, as well as the fact that Jeff's, not in TNA right now because of a suspension or personal issues, and they bring that into the storyline, all we know right now is that TNA is not going to have this main event mafia thing going forever, and that it will end at Bound for Glory. You know that as a longtime fan, and so do I. And that's all I have to say. I hope you like what I had to say, my opinions. You got any comments? Let me know.